Most people live their entire lives without ever acknowledging the under-the-hood mechanisms that drive their behavior. We believe our choices are conscious and deliberate, yet we spend the majority of our waking hours operating on a rigid, biological autopilot. The brain evaluates incoming data instantly, generating thousands of unprompted bots every day, filtering out nearly everything before conscious awareness. This hidden process is why we remain trapped in loops of behavior, repeating the same mistakes even when we know better. Willpower usually fails because the brain's default operating system is hardwired to prioritize preservation over progress. Gaining control over these daily actions requires an understanding of the specific neurological patterns that drive your behavior. The brain's foundational directive is survival. To ensure you stay alive, it employs a negativity bias that colors every perception. This directive makes the mind hyper-reactive to negative information, scanning for threats while treating positive events as background noise. When calculating risk, the brain avoids pain with far more intensity than it seeks rewards. This survival instinct creates a physiological preference for familiar routines, causing the brain to perceive any new environment as a potential threat to be avoided. To prevent you from taking risks, the mind manufactures imaginary fears and uses overthinking to stall your ability to act. The biological systems that once protected us from physical predators now function as the primary anchors keeping us psychologically stagnant. This survival programming leads to a common error in judgment, the belief that we must feel ready before we begin. We wait for a surge of motivation to arrive, assuming it is the necessary fuel for taking the first step. In reality, the surge occurs after you begin. The psychological drive to continue is a response to physical movement, not a precursor to it. Confidence follows the same logic. It is a byproduct of execution rather than a requirement for starting. Searching for perfect timing is a symptom of the brain's default avoidance strategy. If you rely on your internal feelings to start, you will remain stuck because the default brain rarely volunteers for discomfort. Overriding these defaults requires a shift from internal struggle to external design. While you cannot delete biological impulses, you can structure an environment that makes better decisions automatic. Eliminating multitasking and reducing noise forces the brain to narrow its focus, artificially sharpening your attention on a single objective. Breaking a massive goal into microtasks exploits the brain's reward system. Completing these small tasks triggers a sense of progress that sustains momentum. This methodical repetition replaces the need for fleeting motivation with the structure of discipline. Discipline emerges as a byproduct of an environment that leaves no room for the brain to retreat into comfort. Your initial thoughts are often just automated software firing, rather than objective facts. The brain is constantly adapting. It physically rewires its neural connections to match whatever behaviors you choose to repeat. Stepping out of your comfort zone consistently forces the brain to build new pathways, eventually overriding the old survival-based default settings. Most focus on massive, talent-driven goals, but your mind's physical structure is shaped by tiny, consistent habits. While talent is often a lucky biological draw, consistency proves that an individual has successfully re-engineered their own neural pathways. Once the default architecture is understood, changing your mindset redefines how you respond to every problem you face.